Boom! Hey, I'm Thundercloud here, the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rain. Everybody knows Mum calls me James. Hey, let's have some fun and linguistic games on this Chillin Tuesday. What have I got for you tonight? I've got a Louisa Lawson special. Not Henry. Yes, Henry Lawson did have a mum. Her name was Louisa Lawson, and she in her own right was pretty special. All right, well, let's begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which I broadcast, the Kamilaroi and the Banbai people, acknowledging the continuing connection to the land of the past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty's never been ceded, and ditto for all the First Nations across this continent now called Australia. Well, not a lot has been written or is known about our early colonial poets before Federation, the female ones. There's a lot known about the male ones like Henry Lawson, Banjo Patterson, Henry Kendall, etc. But one very important female poet was Louisa Lawson. Yeah, she was Henry's mum. In fact, she was a contemporary of Henry Lawson because she was born in 1848 on the 17th of February. And if you know anything, that's the same day as Banjo Patterson. He was born in 1864 though, so he was 16 years younger than Louisa Lawson. And 3 years after that, Henry was born in 1867, Henry Lawson. So yeah, she was born there in Gunterwong, and she had quite an educated mother and father. However, when she was teenage years, there was not a lot of work for women, and she got married quite young to a gold miner, 35 years old, and she was, double her age. And so her first child, Henry Lawson, was born in 1867, when she was just 19 years old. And then she had two more sons and a couple of twin daughters. One of those daughters died of cholera, which kind of, was pretty sucked actually. It would suck for anyone. And of her two other sons, there was Jack and Peter. One of them ran away from home because he, threatened to kill his brother, and he couldn't face it, whatever. Then her husband was a miner, and she sort of lived a lot of her life in sort of mining camps and slab huts, when life in Australia was not that easy. In fact, it was nothing like, wasn't it, today? And then she left and went to Sydney when she was 35, and then 2 years later her husband died. But by this time she was, for all intents and purposes, sort of widowed anyway, and all divorced. And then she bought a newspaper called The Republican in 1888, and also started up another one called a magazine called The Dawn. Now, The Dawn went from 1888 to 1905, and Louisa ran that. She ran it with Henry, and also someone called Gertrude's help. And so she retired in 1905, closed it down, and she died in 1920. And by the way, Henry Lawson died in 1922, only 2 years after his mother. So he only lived to something like 48. He was quite young when he died because he was an alcoholic. So their life was not exactly easy, I could imagine, for that to happen to Henry. Some of Louisa's later poetry is definitely coming from a life of trials and tribulations. Now, one of the other things about Louisa Lawson is that she was known because she campaigned fiercely for the right of women to vote in Australia. So in 1902, when women in New South Wales got the right to vote, she was called the, Mother of Suffrage in New South Wales. So, yeah, she is a poet, was a poet, a writer, a publisher, and an activist in her own right, and so needs to be celebrated and talked about just as much as her short story writer and poet's son, Henry Lawson. All right, well tonight, that's all I'm going to tell you about her story. If you want to find out a bit more about Louisa Lawson, I've got a lot of this information here out of this book here. Louisa Lawson collected poems edited by Leonie, Rutherford, Megan Ruffley with Nigel Spence, published by the University of New England Centre for Australian Language and Literature Studies in 1996. And so I'm not going to be reading out of this one though, because after Louisa Lawson retired from the Dawn, well, in the last year that she was working there, publishing the Dawn, she collected a whole lot of her poems that she'd written up until that stage and put them together in a book called The Lonely Crossing and Other Poems, which is about 67 poems, which was then republished by the University of Sydney Library as a PDF, and you can get that online if you just do a search, The Lonely Crossing and Other Poems, Louisa Lawson, PDF. Now, in that book, she published under the name Dora Falconer. How interesting. She didn't even use her real name. She used a nom de plume. So, but first of all, I will read you the two poems that she published of her own in the Dawn magazine over time. The first one's Birthday Wish, and the other one's Mountain Flowers. Oh, could I, as lift this pen, mark out thy destiny? I would have thee happy now as when nursed at thy mother's knee. I would have thee cherished free from harm on this eventful morn, blessed and content with brow as calm as the hour that thou wert born. On a peaceful pillow thou wouldst sleep, thy dreams should pleasant be. Would God I had the power to keep thy heart from sorrow free. The flowers of hope thy path would sow, to walk in manly pride. All hearts around thee firm and true, great good should thee betide. I've not the power, alas, dear friend, to give thee all I say, but hope thou'll please the lines I send thee on thy natal day. Birthday Wish. The next one, which was also published in Louisa Lawson's magazine, The Dawn, Mountain Flowers. I culled them fresh on the mountainside, where they blossomed wild and free. They were emblems of the fair noontide of my thoughts, dear friend, for thee. But ere they are thine, they'll droop and fade, and the fairest first will die, and each fervent wish for thee unsaid will waste in a weary sigh. For they spring fresh as the mountain flower, from the heart as pure and free to my lips, and die for a word of power that would tell their depths to thee. But like the flowers on the mountainside that bloom through the wind and rain, I will constant prove whate'er beside, dear friend, though our paths are twain. Yeah, lovely. All right. So now I'm going to move on to The Lonely Crossing and other poems. The source for this was prepared and printed of the edition published from the Dawn office in Sydney. And this was published, this is, where we go, 1999, Julie Price staff, proofreading and corrections from the SETI's Library, University of Sydney.edu.au/auslit. Check it out. Just do a Google search for The Lonely Crossing and other poems, Louisa Lawson. Parenthesis, Dora Falconer. And that's what she was published under. All right. So we'll read you the preface first. In putting my house in order, I decided to arrange and publish this unpretentious little collection of verses, some of which were composed before leaving school and others later on with babe at nurse. Those of widowed years were written for solace when under stress of pain and sorrow. Should they find a place in the hearts of the most humble among my countrywomen, I shall feel more than responsible for the trouble and cost of this publication. Louisa Lawson. Okay. The Lonely Crossing and other poems. The first one, The Lonely Crossing. A man on foot came down to the river, silent man on the road alone, and dropped his swag with a chill-born shiver and sat to rest on a wind-worn stone. He slid them down to the long grass, bending his arms above as the resting do, and watched a snow-white chariot trending its wind-made way, oh, the Wedgwood blue. In it sat one of the fairest ladies that mind could mould in a crown of white, but close beside came a friend from Hades, a fiend from Hades, in a chariot black as the heart of night. The man he sighed as the fiend would clasp her, then smiled as the wind by a wise decree her white steeds turned to the streets of jasper, and Satan drave to a sin-black sea. The wattles waved their sweet reflection, in crystal fathoms responses made. The sunlight silted each soft inflection, and fretted with silver the shortening shade. A restless fish made the thin reeds shiver. A walking wind made the willows moan. But the resting man by the noon-bright river lay dreaming on the long grass prone. The bellbird called to its tardy lover. The grebe clouds all to the west had sped, but the river of death had a soul crossed over. The man with the swag on the bank was dead. Interesting. Coming home. Going round the back street through the twilight lane while the folk at church meet, coming home again. Faded hat and creasy, long since it was new, entfully torn and greasy, bluey showing through. Billy Burton battered boots all bandy burst, lace and lace holes shattered, trousers at their worst, blankets like a riddle, with a streak of white down the threadbare middle, when against the light. Young face lined and sunburnt, hair just turning grey, many a lesson unlearnt since he went away. But he need not bother, there's a bite and sup, and for all the other, mother'll fix him up. Back again. Oh, my boy, come in, do, you're back at last. Years since last we saw you. How the time has passed. Have a bath and shave first. No, a cup of tea. Think you want a rest worst? Dearie, oh dearie me. Look, dear, at your boots too, all cut with the rocks. And you haven't, have you, any mended socks? They are always tearing? Threw them all away? Alberts are you wearing? Goodness, what are they? Felt that you were coming, so I wrote to Bob. He says things are humming and you'll get a job. Now, dear, don't come near me. You're all over dust. Can you smoke? Oh, dear me, if you really must. That's interesting. The hour is come. How did she fight? She fought well. How did she light? She fell. Why did she fall? God, who knows all, only can tell. Those she was fighting for, they surely would go to her. Nay, what of her pain? Theirs is the gain, ever the way. Will they not help her to rise? If there is death in her eyes, can you not see? She made them free. What if she dies? Can we not help her? Oh no, in a good fight it is so, that all who work never must shirk suffering and woe. But she'll not ever lie down. On her head, in the dust, is a crown, jewelled and bright, under whose light she'll rise alone. Wow, that's a really nice poem, good poem. The Hour Is Come, it's called. Louisa Lawson. A Friend in Need. That's the title of this one, A Friend in Need. Friends will leave you quickly, slight you and deceive you, or will not believe you if you have a wrong. Those who hurt will hate you, enemies will slate you, and as crank disrate you if you have a wrong. But if you are righted, those who cruelly slighted will be so delighted, said so all along. But then you can show them that you would forgo them, too well you know them since you've had a wrong. But your friends, God bless them, take their hands and press them. You'll not have to guess them if you've had a wrong. Twilight. Though labour may claim and cover the best of our waking hours, whatever we owe another, we feel that the dusk is ours. 'Tis then that the hard views taken of things in the day glare seen will soften and tint and waken and tone neath the twilight screen. while the night bird softly tenders, sweet trebles in monotone, and the king of days surrenders to the queen of night his throne. When the earth and sky are lovers, and present and past are wed, and the satisfied soul discovers how surely God hath led. And then, as the heart confesses the sins of a selfish way, the spirit of pardon blesses and closes the gates of day. Twilight by Louisa Lawson. The Reformers. We lead the way, we lead the way, we rise alert to meet each day. We start the fight, we head the fray, we lead the way, we lead the way. We turn the sod, we stir the pool, we point the way to those who rule. We check the road, we chide the fool, we point the way to those who rule. We bear reverse, we breast rebuff, we force away over passes rough. We stand the kick, we'll take the cup, till death's stern umpire calls enough. Reformers by Louisa Lawson. Sounds like it was a suffrage kind of chant, you know. The Hill of Death. No downward path to death we go, through no dark shades or valleys low, but up and on our rises bright, towards the dawn of endless light. For not in lowlands can we see the path that was and that to be, but on the height just where the soul takes the deeper breath to reach the goal, there we can see the winding way that we have journeyed all our day, then turn and view with spirit still our future home beyond the hill. The Hill of Death by Louisa Lawson. The Digger's Daughter. The Waratah has stained her cheek. Her lips are even brighter, her virgin quartz without a streak. Her teeth are but far whiter. Her eyes are large and soft and dark, and clear as running water, and straight as any stringy bark, is Lil, the digger's daughter. She'll wash a prospect quick and well, and deftly use the ladle. The weight of gold its size she'll tell, and work with tub and cradle. She was her father's only mate, and wound up wash and water. She worked all day and studied late, and all she knows he taught her. She stood alone above the shaft, a test for woman rather, when I sprang to the windlass haft and helped her land her father. She turned her pretty face to me to thank me, and I thought her the grandest girl of all her race, sweet Lil, the digger's daughter. And when my luck began to change, I grew a trifle bolder, and told my love, but thought it strange she knew before I told her. She said that she would be my wife, and then I proudly brought her home to be my loving mate for life. But still, the digger's daughter. Louisa Lawson's The Digger's Daughter. Here we go. This one's called A Libertine, in two parts. You've got 2 verses and then you've got 6 verses. a libertine. There's blood in the ink of her writing. The paper is stiffened with tears, and I, with my conscience, am fighting and striving to quiet my fears. And these are the words she's saying: my life I can no longer bear. For death I am constantly praying. Oh, when will God answer my prayer? Part 2. I met her when first the faint dawning of womanhood tinted her youth. Then she had no past like the morning, for she was all candour and truth. She knelt at my feet in confession and asked me for leading and light to write where there was no retrogression, to cleanse what was spotless and white. She held me in deep veneration. She looked on me almost as God, and gave her sweet life's conservation of love to the vilest that trod. I taught her that love was the duty and life of the angels of light, then spoiled her sweet spiritual beauty and turned her away from the right. I wooed her in delicate fashion, then sullied her soul with my lust. I poisoned her life with my passion and murdered her beautiful trust. And now her sweet spirit is flitting to where other sweet spirits wait, while I with soul lepers am sitting in torment at hell's awful gate. A libertine. All right, the next one is called Song of Bacchus. I laugh, ha ha, and I laugh, ho ho, for I think it a goodly thing to curse the high and to curse the low, and to rule both beggar and king. The light will fly from the brightest eye, and the bloom from the fairest cheek, and mirth will die in a sob or sigh where I reeve and ramp and reek. I fill with lust and I poison trust, and I taint the lover's caress. I love to hate, I'm insatiate, I'm hunger for lawlessness. I take from its kind the brightest mind, and I make with it idiot's link. And oft I fly on the gallows high, a grim effigy done by drink. I curse the lives of innocent wives, who could never know aught of me. But what care I for their blighted lives, nor the terrible wrongs I see? I bleach the hair and I line with care many faces with thoughts of me, and flout the prayer that my hand would spare the pride of the family tree. I cursed the land and I cursed the sea, while tile poets my praises sing. And Satan is wroth, he envies me, all the souls of the saints I bring. The Song of Bacchus, Bacchus, by Louisa Lawson. Oh, this one's quite a long one. What have we got? A Pound a Mile it's called. It's 2.5, nearly 3 pages. It's got Dick and Sid in it. It's got a Maori, an upspring Maori from, I guess he's from a Kiwi, wouldn't he, wouldn't he? All right, A Pound a Mile. By Louisa Lawson. The tar boy looked perplexed to see Tom Dawson cut the skin and Sweeper Bill remarked that he had nothing in the bin. His eyes for want of sleep were red, and his shears did click, and whispers went around the shed that Dawson's wife was sick. Then kindly spoke old Daddy Tonk. "Don't look so glum, my lad. Is she, your missus, very cronk?" "Yeah, mate," said Tom. "She's bad." "Are there no women on the place? There should be 2 or 3. "There are, but in my poor wife's case, they say they're all at sea." "Then bring a doctor," Daddy said. "Don't let the woman die." But Tommy Dawson hung his head and made him no reply. "Get Pyle to come out if you can. He'll pull the missus through. Spend all you have to save her, man. I would if I were you." Then Dawson looked up from the ground, and white his features grew. "Look, mate, if you had not a pound, now tell me what you'd do." "What would it cost then, now to send and fetch out Dr. Pyle?" Some of the men the cash would lend. Tom groaned. £1 a mile? "That's stiff, by God," said Monty Styles. "The doctor does it brown. There's 65, I know, good miles between us and the town." "It's a cooee with her now," said Dawson in despair. "I cannot save her anyhow. I'm euchred everywhere." Then up sprang Maori on the job. "Here, look, see, here's me quid. And here, look, see, so help me, Bob, here's 2 from Dick and Sid." And in his hat the money fell from willing hands and free. "A quid a mile," said Barney Bell. "Here goes, I'll give you 3. The boss said, "Put me down for 10, and catch the bloody mare, Ted, and put her in the sulky then. Don't wait till she's fed. Now wire the doctor quick to come, and meet me mile for mile. And Tommy, man, hold up, old chum." Poor Tommy tried to smile. The squatter lit his pipe with care and drew his chin strap in, then took his seat and touched the mare and started for the spin. Then slow the hours of night went by to those around the shed, for not a man had closed an eye, not one had gone to bed. "She's sinking now," the women said. "She can't much longer last. Before an hour she'll be dead. Her strength is failing fast." "I'll go and let the slip rails down," the black boy slowly said. For far along the road to town he heard a horse's tread. Then everyone sprang up and bent a watchful eye and ear, and soon the boss a cooey sent to show that he was near. Then in the middle of the night the blood mare limping came, all tucked and blown and wet and white, and panting hard but game. The doctor quick and silently then with the women went, and very soon a baby's cry was heard in Dawson's tent. "Thank God," he said, "my work is done." And Tommy's hand he pressed. "I've saved your wife and little son. Let nature do the rest." And then they went into the shed, the men and Dr. Pyle, and drank his health in Queensland red and paid him pound for mile. That's a good story. Light in Darkness by Louisa Lawson. Sickness, sorrow, death, disgrace, all of these I have to face. Pain of body, fret of mind, poverty with breath to find. Restless day and sleepless night, dread of darkness, fear of light, not a soul to care for me, not a friend on earth but thee. And thou hast a frightened stare, neath thine eyelids unaware, and like him who raised the dead, hast not where to lay thy head. But thou, because thou lovest me, for thy sake I'll fight us free from this deadlock of despair, from this hell to heaven, I swear. Lines written during a night spent in a bush inn. I wish now this heart with its pleading refrain would freeze and be still, then this tumult of pain that mortals call living would end, and the cast of life be as naught but a pestilence past. This robe I am wearing, as white as a cloud with neatly sewn border, would do for a shroud, and thus I'd be ready, pain-shriven and meek, with only to straighten my hands and my feet. No sign would I make when death's hand on me lay, no sob would I utter when passing away, for those in the house need the rest all too short to heal the fatigue that a hard day has brought. Out on the veranda, asleep on the floor, with weary feet blistered and aching and sore, the tramp dreams of home with his head on his swag, nor recks he of drought or the dry water bag. And soundly asleep with a sun-blistered face, the drover now dreads not the breaks he must chase, but he must be up at the first peep of light to fetch up the yards for his cattle at night. And while all the sheep in the hurdles are snug, the black boy must rest on his old possum rug. In dust and in heat he is shouted all day, and sunrise must see him again on his way. I looked in the face of death once, when alone, and met the grim king without shudder or moan. So I will not shiver nor shriek with affright if I have to go with him in the night. And then they would take me to where I love best, to where I know well that my spirit would rest, where gaudy birds chatter and wild cherries wave, and sunset would throw a red haze o'er my grave. Away on the gap neath the big Currajong that stretches its branches the granites among, and forms with its shelter a natural tomb, with its rest in its stillness and peace in its gloom. And might one among them with grief in his breast might register roughly the place of my rest, by carving in letters deep cut in its bowl these plain words: a woman, may God rest her soul, in ground that is hallowed, let happy folk lie, but give me a grave in the bush when I die. For have I not lived, loved and suffered alone, thus it making it meet that my grave be unknown. The sound of the stockwhip away on the hill. Ah, God, it's day, and I'm suffering still. Next. Another for the Queen. When you've sunk a score of holes and drove 100 more, and every blessed one is worse than the one before, and when on top of this store turns off the tucker tick, 'tis time for you to throw aside the shovel, dish and pick, and take the tightest pinch of all from dire misfortune screw, and humbly barrack for a job, the hated cockatoo. And if you get it after all, you'll stagger at his cheek to offer you a ration mean and 12 and 6 a week. Then will your thoughts go sweeping back across the dreary sea to where the finger points of time show what can never be, and clearly you with mental eye see far across the main the perfect home, the gentle friends and loves of ne'er again. Ah, then you think the fiends in hell have consciousness serene, compared with one who sunk his all in duffers for the Queen. Duffers. Another for the Queen. Oh, okay. Yes, let's have it. Oh, that must be. Let's drink to the Queen. I think that's what that refers to. Compared with one who suffers his all in inverted commas, duffers for the Queen. A plea for Australia. This is, Louisa Lawson, A Plea for Australia. Come out from among them, ye sons of Australia. Come out and denounce them with tongue and with pen. Tear off from each traitor her honoured regalia. Give back to Australia her birthright again. The golden tiara that flashed o'er the mountain, the girdle of opals that fires on the sea, were stolen and scattered like drops from a fountain. Shall ye, her protectors, say, thus shall it be? To robe her in sackcloth, to crown her with ashes, cast lots for her raiment and sully her fame? Rob, wrong and belie her until with wet lashes she bows her fair forehead in sorrow and shame? She who is so queenly, our tender girl mother, beloved of heroes, by white virgins blessed, from pole unto pole find ye never another, like her of earth's daughters, the fairest and best. Come out from among them, true sons of Australia. Come out from among them and show yourselves men, with courage undaunted and fearing not failure. Give back to Australia her prestige again. A Plea for Australia, Louisa Lawson. All right. Oh, the next one's called Australia. Australia forever, beloved home giver, bright haven of the rest, the ocean wide between. How many in sorrow take heart for the morrow, when nearing thy borders thy beauty is seen. The wary world ranger, the poor and the stranger, find all that they need on thy bountiful shore. With hope's sweet annealing, soft over them stealing, they bless thee, resolving to wonder no more. Australia forever, fond hearts leap and quiver, with pleasure and pride as they echo thy praise, and ready whenever the word is together to beat or bleed thy proud banner to raise. Australia by Louisa Lawson. And that was pretty smooth of me to go through the collapse of the lectern here. I just know not to put my foot up on the lectern or it's going to collapse. Oh, this one could be for Gyra. It's called The Winter Wind by Louisa Lawson. Winter Wind. The winter wind, wee, wee. It bites and smites and chases me and pelts with bows and shrieks and glee. This wind's so winter wind, so fierce and free, till wide-eyed stars so white and wee peer through the scud all fearsomely. The love-warm rose no longer now clings fondly round fair nature's brow, but in its place the chill winds roam through locks as white as frozen foam. The winter wind so fierce and free has wrought this change. Ah me, ah me. Her dress that once was green and bright is stiffened, sheer and bleached to white. And where did rose and lily be? Are flecks of frosty filigree. His breath is death, his voice is dree. This winter wind so fierce and free. The Winter Wind by Louisa Lawson. What a cool poem that is, especially when you deliver it like that. The winter wind so fierce and free. Yeah. I want to do that again, just the first paragraph. The winter wind, ee-whee, ee-whee, it bites and smites and chases me and pelts with bows and shrieks with glee. This winter wind so fierce and free, till wide-eyed stars so white and wee peer through the scud all fearsomely. Yeah, that's better. Definitely think I'll have to do that one tomorrow night on Wednesday words, even though it's summer. All right, we've got one called An Australian Song. And it's got a few choruses in it. Come gather brave Australian sons and join us in a song. And if you like the way it runs, then make it roll along. For we can hold our own, we can all fight it in a friendly fray and conquer in the battle van. As on the fields at play, is the chorus. For we hail from a land that is great and grand and the pride of the southern sea. 'Tis a sunny land, 'tis a golden land and the home of the brave and free. That's the chorus. Though older nations of long have tried to treat our race with scorn, it is our boast, our highest pride, that we're Australian born, and we can render scorn for scorn and laugh at all the sneers, while in our vein there runs the blood of Austral's pioneers. For we hail from a land that's great and grand as the pride of the southern sea. 'Tis a sunny land, 'tis a golden land, and the home of the brave and free. For honour's sake we can endure, our word is sacred and sealed. Our arm is strong and our aim is sure as in the field. And when we give our hand and word to help a friend in need, we face the cannon and the sword, nor from our vows recede. For we hail from a land that is great and grand and the pride of the southern sea. 'Tis a sunny land, 'tis a golden land, and the home of the brave and free. Ta-da. All right, here's another one. This one's called The Squatter's Wife. It has an introduction. Some years ago, a squatter, while on a visit to a city, married a beautiful and gifted girl who accompanied him to his home in the bush, to find, on arriving there, that the homestead consisted of 2 bark huts, one for herself and the other for her husband's black mistress and family. Here we go. Lonely hut on barren creek, where rotting sheep yards reek, far away from kith and kin, none save thee and native gin, many a weary mile within. Alice Gertler. On the creaking blue gum tree moans the bronze wing drearily, and anon the curlew's cry, sharp and shrill, goes wailing by like a weird litany. Alice Gertler. Waterless the wide lagoon crazes neath a red blood moon, and the hard times hated cry stifles in a stagnant sky, while the starving cattle die. Alice Gertler. Uncongenial sights for thee, gruesome sounds of death and dree, filling all the nights with fear, making dreary days more drear, all the uneventful year. Alice Gertler. None to hearken and despair gives to thee a listless air. Dear, how long the stretch of pain ere will turn a woman's brain, and her sad tears cease to rain? Alice Gertler. Bound to one who loves thee not, drunken offspring of a sot, even now at wayside inn riots he in a drink and sin, mating with a half-caste gin. Alice Gertler. When I think what thou hast borne, painfully my breast is torn. Meant I but to pity thee, but love came unsought to me, and I'm sad with loving thee. Alice Gertler. Still, I may not tell thee so. Thou wouldst scorn me well, I know, with thy fair cheek all aflame. Thou wouldst talk of sin and shame, and me with dishonour blame. Alice Gertler. Yes, I met thee all too late. Thou hadst sealed thy fearful fate. Better long ago had died one so full of virtuous pride, than unto a friend allied. Alice Gertler. Careth aught the world for thee, or thy lifelong misery? Thou art gifted, good and fair, but neglected, hence a snare would entrap thee everywhere. Alice Gertler. Go to these good men again, they who bound with ring and pen say he's ta'en thy peace away, wronged and used thee cruelly. Will they touch thy burden? Nay. Alice Gertler. Girl, it fills me with dismay, seeing thee give thy life away, burned thy cheek is by thy tears, wrung thy heart is by thy fears. Pray thou stop, but no one hears. Alice Gertler. But I know thou wilt stay, even till thy hair is grey, faithful to thy vows thou'lt be, until all is gone from thee, in thy faith is deity. Alice Gertler. Malaise makes a face like thine on the huge knot to shine. What would I not give to be like him, forced all else to flee, but loved by one like thee? Alice Gertler. May I be forgiven the thought, pleasure laden, sorrow fraught, but my sweet, unconscious queen, I cannot be wrong, I ween, just to think what might have been. Alice Gertler. But each wish I must resign, for strength to make no sign, strength to live, if it so be, until heaven do pity thee, or send death to make thee free. Alice Gertler. Yeah, The Squatter's Wife by Louisa Lawson. What a fantastic poem that is. God, give me gold. God, give me gold that I may test the blessed sweets of perfect rest, for I am ill and hotly pressed. God, give me gold. God, give me gold that I may ease the sorrow that the city sees. I cannot help the least of these. God, give me gold. God, give me gold, that I may buy the thing for which my soul doth sigh. For human love, else, Lord, I die. God, give me gold. All right. Next one. A Life's Dream. Dream I. Just as the starving cattle come to drink at fall of night, they came to me with faltering steps and faces wan and white. And they were there at dawn of day with streaming hair and eyes, and piteous looks that seemed to say, help, help, ere all good dies. I lifted up my bleeding feet and let the red drops fall. I rose the oaken yoke and showed the big hot spots of gall. I said I am myself a slave bound by a man-made law. I weep a fate that cannot save, so plead with me no more. They cried, oh sister, hide your feet and let the hard yoke fall. You tread the winepress all alone, but you are strong withal. Go to the rulers we have borne, plead for the babes we bear, sue till the dusk from early morn, pray till they needs must care. Go while we watch and weep and wait, leave home and love and all, but when you reach the outer gate, call as the cattle call. I yielded them and sought alone a city near the main, where prejudice on iron throne held universal reign. And oft I gave the conflict o'er, and felt beset by pain, and cruel wrong and losses sore, the rose and fought again. Until one fatal day I fell, methought to rise no more, and years went by ere I was well. Then, not as before, a cripple in life's afternoon beside a dead cold hearth, with no glad joy bells lingering croon or hope's bright aftermath. I listened to the leaden rain drone through the dismal dusk, and mourned of my dreams of golden grain and mead and rue and rusk. I said, "O heart with sorrow sore, what wait we, you and I? The day is lost and hope is o'er, why not curse God and die?" Then hark, a quick step nears my door, a woman's form I see. She comes across my humble floor and looks with joy on me. She says, "I come to thee on this thrice blessed day to tell thee, sister, we are free to kneel with thee and pray." I sank quickly upon my knees and looked the thanks I thought that he who in a sparrow's seat, he had watched us as we fought. Then I rose and dried my tears. It surely did me seem that they had helped me with their prayers, the women of my dream. Dream 2. And now I see their forms again, all changed from those of yore, not like the slaves who sued in vain for freedom as before. Ah, not in sackcloth sit they now, with ashes on each head, for freedom's crowns adorn each brow, their dresses royal red. Their yokes are carved to standards high, held in each firm right hand, and floating free are letters bright, for God and native land. And hopefully they speak and move, and sing as on they go, for they will save the land they love from sin and want and woe. All right, we're moving right along. We're getting through this, but I doubt that I'm going to get through the whole lot tonight, because it is 68 pages of poetry. Lines. It's a quatrain. It's 4 lines. A boy in pain, a mother sigh. A strong man weep, a fair girl die. These things do wring my heart well nigh. I know not why. I know not why. The Message of the Flowers by Louisa Lawson. Flowers you gave me, fresh and bright, sweet as joy and pure as light, roses red and lilies white, love-born children of delight. But they faded soon away, for they ever seemed to say, in your life there is no day, love we not the twilight grey. And I know the flowers were slain while upon my blossom lain, but my sad tears salted rain and hot sighs of ceaseless pain. But the flowers red and white left for me this message bright, whispered softly in the night, sad one, somewhere there is light. Well, this is a very long title. So many a deed of wrong for right is meant. So many a deed of wrong for right is meant. Okay. We will part now forever, you and I, with a frozen smile and a faint goodbye, and a hand on the poison barb pressed to bury it deep in each tortured breast. We will part just here while our new love dies, and we'll turn deft ears to its pleading cries. For we each could save it, but neither will, as we stoop to injure and strike to kill. And the eyes that photo our faces wild will haunt us forever, poor murdered child. Oh, how did the beautiful babe did grow, suckled in sorrow and cradled in woe. Pride was the menace which shadowed its birth, the beautiful cherub too bright for earth. For better it were that our souls had lied than bring into being a love that died. But though you are taking all else away, there is one rare jewel must say you nay. It is mine, all mine, it is memory's prize. 'Tis the clasp and the kiss of love's first surprise. I will live it over while life shall last, and in its soft rapture shall death be past. With your lips in mine, in a dream I'll be, and pass in your arms to eternity. The last one tonight I'm going to read. And don't forget to give this a thumbs up, subscribe to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, and click on the notification bell so you get notified when I'm uploading new videos each week, every time. Renunciation by Louisa Lawson. Thou sayest that I am a heartless coward, that I with blandishments thy passion drew, until thy will was weakened and o'erpowered, then back to thee that love again I threw. Thou dost me wrong when thou dost call me coward. To kill a passion one needs to be brave. To tear a love out strong and hope enflowered, and cast it warm and pulsing in the grave. I plucked my love while in its virgin beauty, and memorized it, for I was afraid that it might warm to lust or chill to duty, or change to hate or suffer blight or fade. If I was cold, I was so but in seeming. If I was calm, then I did well my part. To suffer torture is not pleasant dreaming, nor ease to petrify a living heart. While love unsatisfied my heart was wringing, I would not kiss thy close and tempting lips. And while my starving soul to thee was clinging, I would not touch thee then with fingertips. Thou wert my ideal one, my inspiration. Thou led me up and on to high degrees, and the great plan of a divine creation showed me in nature's splendid mysteries. Forget me now, nor seek to reinstate me. I have elected hence to walk alone. I love a love, not man. Oh, do not hate me. A love etherealized, that's all my own. All right, we've got another one called A Dream here. I'm just about out of water. Last night, as I lay on my bed, I dreamed a strange, sad dream. The pathway that I travelled led along a sunlit stream that mirrored as it swept along the oaks that o'er it bent, and with their weird tuneless song its own sweet cadence blent. All things were bathed in golden light, and flowers from many a nook bent down to kiss their faces bright, reflected in the brook. A wondrous wealth of dark blue sky seemed fallen at my feet, and o'er its silence surface there sailed a snowy fleet of fleecy clouds that gliding went towards a bank beyond, a velvet sward, all thickly sprent with starlight flower and frond. Reclining there I saw a form I had not seen for years, and o'er me passed a sudden storm of mingled hopes and fears. He quickly rose and came to me and said, "Shall we be friends? And oh, believe the change in thee my heart with sorrow rends." I answered, "Why dost thou desire to open wounds half healed, and fan a flame of dying fire deep in my sad heart sealed?" "Sad heart," I said, "no longer sad, for I have found a balm for every sorrow that I had, for every storm a calm. I gave thee honour due by right unto a jealous God, and in thy causeless sudden flight I kissed his chastening rod. Hast thou not blasted on my way each bud with deadly blight, and taken from my life each ray that made my girlhood bright? Why dost thou come to spoil my peace, while thou hast no mercy show? I pray this cruel trifling cease, in quiet let me go. Yes, false to thee, dear girl, I seemed, my thoughtlessness I rue, thy constant love I too cold I deemed, the wrong I'd fain undo. Forgive me, and as a day star bright, beam on me when forgiven, and turn my way thoughts all right, like thine from earth to heaven. I turned to gaze upon the stream where it had rippled by. 'Twas gone, ah me, deluding dream, nor friend of old was nigh. Then o'er me did rebellion steal, the fight was lost, not won, nor could I say with righteous zeal, my God, thy will be done. Here we go. So, it's my favourite, probably Louisa Lawson, because it really sort of, it gives you a bit of a feeling of how she was, listen, A Woman's Love by Louisa Lawson. I cared not what thy failings were, thy faults I would not see. I only knew I loved thee well and thought thee true to me. I shunned amid life's busy crowd those who would defame, for oh, it pained a trusting heart to hear men idly blame. I would not heed when meddling friends would whisper aught of thee. I thought not one so seeming true could e'er a traitor be. And then they knew not of thy tone of fond and love caress, that would my soul responsive move with its great tenderness, nor how my hungry aching heart crave the kind word or smile that did my thoughts despondent groan from my sad life beguile. They knew not, nor mortal shall, all thou hast been to me. But I forgive thee, all because thou once wert true to me. divided. The last one I'm going to do. Their path had divided, and never again would merge into one as before it was twain. The course of true love had run smoothly until it had suddenly parted as strong currents will. But just for a moment, the world is not wide, they drifted together, the soul and its bride, and under the spell of affinity's thrall, a tender love longing did over them fall, which made them too pale in a tremor of fear, for soul sobbed to soul while the lovers were near. But she to the right turned and he to the left, still keeping the course pride and anger had cleft, which led o'er the breakers of passion and pain, far out o'er the wide sea of never again, where no one was yet known to forget the pangs of heart hunger or pain of regret. In vain did a small voice implore them to stay. Far pity was not, and they parted for aye. Well, that's it for me for the evening, and the poetry of Louisa Lawson from The Lonely Crossing and Other Poems. Now, I haven't got through it all. There's still probably a good 20 bits of poems in here. But yeah, my voice is getting a bit croaky. Throat's a bit dry. So thank you for joining me tonight here on Chillin Tuesday at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame and this Louisa Lawson, Henry Lawson's mum, special. All right, well, I'm Thundercloud. I'll see you here tomorrow night or over there on the big stage for Wednesday Words Open Mic Night. Yes, and you can get here too. Come on down. It starts at 6:30. We record it and then we put it up there on YouTube as well. So don't forget, like, subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment. Tell me what poets you would like to see in the comments down below. Hey, I'm Thundercloud. I'll see you later. Boom!